Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. If you're someone who loves to learn efficiently, who craves a bit of mental clarity, and who really wants to understand the deeper mechanics of how our own minds work, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're taking a truly fascinating look at a piece of reflective writing titled simply, Am I Writing Again? This material gives us this beautifully structured, highly metaphorical look at how writing, and honestly, really any creative act, serves as a vital tool for organizing our incredibly complex inner worlds. We're going to break down this journey step by step, taking what could just be abstract philosophy and transforming it into clear, actionable insights about mental well-being and self-care. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Organizing the mind. From physical space to mental space.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're tackling a very core, universal problem today: mental clutter. We all have it, right? But rather than starting off with dense, complex psychology, let's ground this in a very physical, relatable concept. Have you ever organized your room? Or maybe painstakingly color-coded your college coursework? And hey, just shoving everything under the bed? Yeah, that doesn't count. Think about that feeling of pure satisfaction and the mental clarity that comes from taking a chaotic physical space and finally imposing some order on it. You put things in their proper places, you toss out what you don't need, and suddenly you can breathe a little easier. Well, this everyday reality actually makes a profound point about our inner well-being.
The comparison the author makes here is totally explicit. Writing is a lot like organizing clothes, but instead of physical garments, we're organizing our thoughts. When our minds are cluttered, everything just feels overwhelming. By sitting down to write, we're essentially taking all those tangled up ideas, those random feelings and worries, and sorting them into neat, understandable piles. It immediately clarifies the core premise of the text. Writing isn't just some lofty art form. It's literally a fundamental act of mental housekeeping.
Now, what's really great is that writing isn't the absolute only way to achieve this clarity. There's actually a whole menu of mind-organizing tools available to us: dancing, reading, cycling, writing, and, interestingly enough, simply avoiding certain things. These are all perfectly valid ways of organizing the mind. So whether we're actively doing something, like pushing the pedals on a bicycle, or completely losing ourselves in a book, or whether we're purposely making the choice to avoid something that we know brings us chaos, they both contribute to our overall well-being. It all boils down to intentionality.
Section 2. Writing as self-care. A creative conversation.
Let's shift our focus to why writing is so uniquely effective from that menu of options we just talked about. Consider this simple yet incredibly powerful idea. Writing is doing something for me. At its very core, it's a deeply empathetic act of self-kindness. It's a way to relax, to feel good, and to actually talk to yourself in a creative mode. Instead of listening to that harsh inner critic we all hear way too often, writing allows us to treat ourselves to literary creation. Think about how liberating that is, to view the act of putting words on a page not as a chore, but as a deliberate act of doing something entirely for your own benefit. Here's a reminder we all desperately need to hear sometimes. It is nothing wrong with being kind to ourselves and doing something we like. This totally validates our need for self-care. It frames this kind of creation as a healthy and necessary indulgence. In a world that constantly demands we produce things for other people, taking the time to organize your own mind simply because you like it, that's a profound act of self-kindness.
Section 3. The butterfly of feelings. Admiring the mind.
Now, what's really interesting here is a total shift in gears. To understand how our minds actually operate, the author moves us from that practical analogy of organizing a room into a deeply introspective, poetic metaphor. The mind is a butterfly. It naturally flies to whatever attracts it, and it possesses a deep, fundamental need to be seen. If you just think about your own wandering attention for a second, or your own daydreams, this makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Because this butterfly energy is constantly seeking attraction and visibility, it's far better to consciously channel that wandering energy into something we actually enjoy, rather than just letting it flit around aimlessly. Which leads us to this absolutely crucial takeaway. We must admire our own thoughts and feelings. I mean, who is better than me to admire my own mind and let it fly? This isn't about arrogance or vanity, not at all. It's about realizing that you have to be the very first person to validate your own human existence. You have to allow your thoughts and feelings to exist simply because you exist as a human being. But you know, feelings aren't just passive things that flutter around. They require active care. First, we have to acknowledge that they need the attention they deserve. Second, we must actively develop and work on them. It's entirely up to the individual to figure out what their feeling actually is. And third, ultimately, we must set them free for others. You really have to do the internal work first before your feelings can truly benefit anyone else. Section 4. The power of sharing. Setting feelings free.
So, the crucial point is right here. This is literally the climax of this entire philosophy. Once we've admired our thoughts and we developed our feelings, what exactly do we do with them? We share them, because if we don't, we face a real tragedy. The author notes that if unshared, they just end up in a corner bouncing themselves to their feeling without destination. It's a slightly dizzying image, right? But it perfectly captures that very real anxiety of trapped emotions. The very nature of a feeling is its beauty, and that beauty needs an audience to be fully realized.
The stakes here are incredibly clear. On one side, feelings kept inside just bounce in a corner without a destination, or they fly away unseen, their beauty completely wasted. On the other side, feelings that are shared are set free, and their beauty is actively enjoyed by others. If you have someone trustworthy in your life, you shouldn't waste any time. You should share your inner feelings with them immediately.
But well, what if you look around and there's just no one trustworthy to share with right now? The text offers some very reassuring, practical advice for this exact situation. First off, use this isolated time to develop your feelings internally. View it as a sign of admiring your own emotions. Second, hold on to them so you can show them to worthy others later. Third, maintain the trust that there are people out there who will eventually receive and understand your feelings. And finally, look, sometimes sharing goes wrong, but by using mindfulness, even those negative experiences can be managed. It acts as a wonderful safety net.
And when we actually do this work, when we organize, admire, develop, and share, something beautiful happens. Just as a butterfly flies away when it's ready, and others naturally follow suit, our thoughts and feelings are similar. When they're ready, if we give them the proper space and structure, they'll naturally take their own path and guide us toward tasks related to a truly purposeful life. The organization literally leads to purpose.
Section 5. Purposeful living. The role of comparison.
As we journey toward this purposeful life, how do we measure our progress? How do we evaluate our competencies without tearing ourselves down in the process? This whole concept brilliantly illustrates that comparison is actually a good thing, provided it stays within the realm of competencies and takes one of two specific forms. We either compare me to me, looking at our own personal growth and seeing that we're organizing our mind better today than we did yesterday, or we compare me to someone else with my admiration towards their path in life, meaning we don't look at other people with jealousy, but with genuine admiration for the path they're forging, using it as fuel and inspiration for our own purposeful journey.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you reflecting on the very concepts we just organized together. Who are you comparing yourself to today? Are you measuring your growth against your past self, or are you drawing inspiration from an admired path? Remember, your mind is a butterfly that has a deep need to be seen. Take the time to organize it, write things down, admire it, and when you're finally ready, set it free. Thank you so much for learning with me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep organizing those thoughts, and I'll see you in the next explainer.